All right. Well, we're excited today. We've got an interview coming up with Thor Wood from SnapShyft, a good friend of mine and a great business owner. For all of you that maybe thought that Indiana wasn't home to any tech startups, we've got news for you today. So, Thor, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Chris. Good to be here. Like what you're doing. I'm the founder of SnapShift. We created a labor marketplace that is effectively a cloud-based staffing software and mobile app that connects businesses with fully vetted and experienced professionals on demand. So you can think like staffing as a service. What we do and do well is we fill shifts fast. We take the best attributes of the gig economy and HR tech, marrying that with available workers on a short-term basis. So food production, packaging, food service, hospitality, dietary services. And I think right now we're helping around 450 unique operations, get the right talent that they need, and then eliminating bias and discrimination along the way. And then we're working with about 36,000 essential workers to generate income and pay their bills. So
That's exciting. And we're doing all of that out of a headquarters here in Indiana, right?
yeah, we're based right here, Indianapolis. Our headquarters is downtown over by the Rolls-Royce campus.
Well, certainly excited to get into more of that. And I know you being a local guy, born and raised here in Indianapolis, that you've got strong ties here, and it was really important for you to, um, to build a company that could thrive in the Hoosier economy. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think my overarching goal was, and whether it was vanity or just pride, I wanted to do it here. We had weighed options, looking at, various your typical, tech cities like Austin or the Indianapolis is home, and we knew that we'd have the support structure to really kick things off, try and build something, swing for the fences, and if you fall on your face, it's good to have family and friends around, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, good. Well, we're excited to jump into the interview today. I know you've got a background in hospitality, so we're going to talk some about that and how your business has evolved. Um, kind of up into where it is now, and we're going to talk some about COVID and how that's affected the industry that you're in, as well as your business. So,
Absolutely. Before we do that, though, Chris, I want to change my shirt. Is that cool?
sounds great.
All right, man. I'll see you in a minute.
All right, so you talked earlier, Thor, about being passionate about the hospitality industry. What was it in your past that contributed to that?
I think it was, when I was 14, I got roped in. That's a nice way. My aunt, start over. I don't know what I was saying. Um,
So earlier, Thor, you had mentioned that you had a passion for hospitality. From what I understand, you started out, got a job early on in catering downtown, and your personal career in hospitality really grew from there. Is that right?
yeah. In fact, my aunt used to be a restaurant manager at a place that not many people, I don't think, would recall, but it was called the Teller's Cage. It was the Regions Tower, which wasn't always the Regions Tower. I think it was the National Bank of Detroit building at the time. Anyway, top floor, Teller's Cage. 14 years old, she's got me bussing tables, taking the trash out, lugging, empty kegs, full kegs. I take that back. They weren't full; they were always empty. Uh,
Sure.
but I was a gopher. I mean, whatever heavy lifting needed to be done, and all of a sudden, it was like that was the genesis for my time in the industry. Because right after that, while I was in high school, I did a number of the fast food jobs, which are pretty typical. But I worked at the convention center. I worked at the RCA Dome by extension, which was very cool, with Colts games and other things. But the athletic club, Indianapolis Athletic Club, was a long-term job for me when I was a teen, and loved it. Side story. I don't know if I ever told anybody this, Chris. So when we drafted Peyton Manning in 1998, so he had no place to stay, and so he decided rather than a hotel, I'm going to live at the athletic club. And so, it's myself working there, a bunch of Roncalli alum, including two of my cousins. And so I'm in the elevator, which is this old school, awesome elevator. And here's big four-headed Peyton Manning, freaking general. He's standing there. And so me and my cousin are just like, awestruck by that. Uh, but it's things like that. Like, I think that was the kind of opened my eyes that the people that you meet in the hospitality sector, you're meeting rock star. It's just pretty cool. And I don't think you get that in many other industries, but that was my time well spent in the industry. But the thing was, man, as much as I loved it, I hated it, because if you were a hard worker in the industry, a lot was put on your shoulders. And the industry in general, whether it's catering, whether it's hospitality like hotels, events, or restaurants and bars, if someone doesn't show up, someone's got to pick up the slack. And even though there's some pretty high quality people here locally in the industry, and maybe they don't do that, the nationwide stats tell a different story. This is pre-COVID, right? Where you've got roughly 10 to 11 million people losing their job or leaving their job every year. And so someone's got to pick up that slack. And so that was really kind of the meat of what drove us to figure out a way to help the businesses first. That was our main goal. Help these restaurateurs, help the catering ops get the right people when they needed them, and never be stuck. And at the end of the day, and I can get into that, really what we started to blossom into was that we were really helping the people. So it kind of brought me back full circle, the hospitality concept. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. What I was gonna maybe throw in is what I hear you saying is a lot of people are their experience with the hospitality industry is as a consumer, right? And you had the back end experience to really feel the pain, whether you were the manager or not. You certainly got to experience the pains of being such a dependable worker. That, hey, you got to bartend tonight, or hey, I need you to drive so and so to the airport, or those types of things that the consumer doesn't see, because when somebody misses a shift or just calls off work, those restaurant owners, those bar managers, they still have to make things happen, right? And to what you're saying is that you saw a need for that.
Absolutely. I just felt bad. When you see the looks on there, like, again, you've got to put your face on, so the public doesn't necessarily see
Right.
the crap hitting the fan. And sometimes they do, right? The customer experience definitely suffers if you're shorthanded. But in hospitality, you put on a face, you smile. It's customer service, and so like you said, the consumers typically don't know how often or how massive the breakage is in that system, and it's pretty consistent. But it's even more so now. Obviously, the whole new ball of wax, thanks to Corona.
Yeah. Yeah. So leading up to that, so the idea came about. There's a need there for managers to employ the gig economy, right? And and Stephanie's background led you to kind of connect the dots there, and from there you took the idea to maybe something on a whiteboard. You took it to startup phase. You started to pitch the idea, right?
Yeah. And it sounds all glamorous, like, oh, go be your own boss, be an entrepreneur.
All right.
And the good and the bad of that as a business owner yourself, I'm sure. But yeah, that's you take it from whether it's a scratch piece of paper or the whiteboard, and then you've got to build it. And I think that that's easier said than done most often, and that's where a lot of people. There's a lot of smart, creative people out there that might be great at business, but it, that's that leap. You've got to start building it, and then there's several leaps after that, right? Then you got to market it, you got to sell it, you got to service it. But I'm, I feel like I'm, trying to tell the teacher.
Oh
You
no,
do
that was good stuff. Yeah,
so.
so you guys had some with SnapShift. This idea was born, and you guys brought your strengths together and formulated a plan. And really, you guys had some early success and some big wins, some recognition for that idea and that plan that you put together. And eventually, it evolved into something that was real and something that took you from your guys's previous jobs or careers, and you guys became fully invested in this and through kind of that startup phase. Now you're a couple years in, and walk us through maybe how you first started to pick up clients and maybe really started to sew your idea into reality for those small business owners.
Yeah, I mean, for us, so being in Florida, we didn't have the network that we do, here in Indy. But at the time, it was like, look, I'm living here. So the first thing, I guess I should back up. Of course, I said jump from the whiteboard to building it, but you've got to validate your assumptions. And every business is built on an assumption. My assumption was that businesses are losing money because they can't get the caliber of experienced worker they need when they need them. So the quick, the quick and dirty of that is it's domino effect. And if you're short, I don't care if it's a dishwasher or a host or a server, bartender, any of the positions in this orchestra of hospitality. If you're short for any amount of time, it's severe consequences. So
Yeah.
for your existing team, right? So we were able to validate that when businesses are short staffed, it leads to your existing employees being fatigued. It leads then to resentment, and then it leads to turnover. This can happen over a long period of time or typically a shorter period of time. The average turnover we found out in this industry was less than 2 months. That's the average length of employment.
Wow.
So think about that. The poor, manager, the GM, whatever the business is, having to replace somebody basically 6 times a year. There's a fixed cost to that. Like, and this is not me pulling out of thin air, but Cornell University, their hospitality, program did some research. It's almost $6,000 per replacement. And then we dug a little bit deeper and we found out that over half of that cost is due to lost revenue.
Wow.
And then you start to peel that onion back, and then it's lost revenue because all of a sudden, instead of getting, your ticket times increased by 15 minutes on average, so you're serving less customers in a day, and then tips suffer, reputation suffers, or if you're looking at a catering operation, you live and die off reviews, right? So if you had a terrible showing for someone's wedding, word travels. And so, or events. I mean, how Indianapolis, I mean, Indiana in general, Hoosier hospitality. I mean, that's our tagline, whether we like it or not. But we're good at it.
Yeah.
And, but even still in this city, there's issues that crop up quite frequently that we can solve. And that was the whole goal. Like right now, Chris, if you were in the business and you needed a worker, what do? Go to Craigslist, post something on Facebook maybe, or Indeed. And if you need them now, like, good luck. And so we had all these assumptions, like the best parts of the gig economy, like Uber and Lyft set the model. They also had their detractions, right? So we wanted to make sure that we built something that had compliance. So we were protecting from an insurance and liability standpoint to a peace of mind and assurance standpoint that you're actually getting someone that's not a criminal, that you're getting somebody that's held accountable, that's going to show up and do a good job for you. And at the end of the day, that it's that simple. Like, as a business owner, I would take that all day long. A hard worker that shows up when they're supposed to. Like, let's go. That's fun. And so, but there's a lot behind that. And we saw that existing solutions were just dropping the ball. And, you know, I think the industry average, this is for all of temp agencies. So temp agencies are really who we displace. And, you know, they're making their money on the backs of people that are not qualified. But their fulfillment rate, which is kind of our guiding light, our North Star, is 34%.
Hmm.
So if you needed somebody and you turn to a temp agency, one out of every 3 times you're going to get what you need. With us, it's actually last year for the entire year was 92%.
Wow.
And for this year, it's already 94% year to date. And
Those are
so
good numbers.
we're trying to get, I mean, again, my assumption was let's just be twice as good. We didn't expect to be 3 times as good, but now it's like we know it's possible. So now we're trying to push the upper limits, right? We want to get to near perfect for these businesses. Anyway, I get excited about that. That's like,
Yeah, no, that is exciting. And what's also exciting is not just the needs of the business owner, but you saw the needs of the bartender or the waitress that wants to pick up some extra shifts,
yeah,
and you filled a need there too, right?
yeah. I mean, all right. So one of the key differences for us is that we're not picking up people off the street. So there's a qualification or a vetting process that's very thorough that every worker has to go through before they become approved on our platform. And so, um, so what we're doing is we're actually targeting people that, let's say, you know, they're full time at the JW Marriott or they're working at, you know, Ruth's Chris, but they've got a vacation to Vegas coming up.
Hmm.
And what's some quick money, no strings attached, no hassle, right? They're not, that person's not going to apply to be a dishwasher at, you know, the pizza joint or at another, you know, venue. They're just not going to, you know, you think about a mixologist or a bartender or a chef, they're not going to apply for a job. But with us, they're able to grab these jobs and make, on average, about 50% more is
Wow.
what we've seen since we started. So the industry average, I think we came in around 53% more per hour than the industry average, excluding tips, and they get paid instantly by us.
Wow.
And so, but that's that, like you said. So yeah, we came in trying to help the businesses, but we really started to see that we're having this great impact on the workers, and we started to peel that onion back more, right? And layer by layer, we saw that 2/3 of the hospitality industry are actually holding down multiple employers just to make ends meet.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. So you think about what's going on with COVID right now, and it's disproportionately affecting this industry, right? Which makes sense. But you've got 8, maybe 9 million people that are out of work right now from hospitality, and it's just scary. But you look at what life was like pre, 66% were having 2 employers. So we decided that was out of necessity. So if they can use us, all of a sudden it's that much easier. You're not juggling 2 managers, trying to negotiate a schedule. What happens if your kid's sick and you've got to go pick them up from school or whatever. We wanted to instill freedom, and we started to see that does have a sizable impact. And really, our motto or our mission statement went from just being as a gig platform to really having a positive socioeconomic outcome for the businesses, yes, for the workers, yes, and then by extension, the community at large. So again, kind of becomes an altruistic mission now that we want to help all these people because they are some really awesome hard workers, and they deserve a leg up. They're overlooked, quite often. They're underbanked. If you look at a snapshot of our actual, so we've got about 36,000 workers on the platform, and over half are female. Over half identify as female. Over half identify as minority. And then over half, 60% actually, are underbanked, meaning in order for them to get paid by us instantly, you have to have a bank account. And 60% didn't. These were people that, again, they're living on tip positions, so it's cash in the pocket. So we're bringing them into a new realm where we've got partnerships.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so we've got a partnership with Chime Bank, which is digital banking, a higher yield, and they're able to, establish a checking account, get paid within 30 minutes by us. They get access to benefits that aren't readily available. So healthcare from the marketplace, dental, vision. We have partnerships with telemedicine. Then we also they get access to 401k retirement. And
Wow.
so it's like, we wanted to kind of bring a compelling, like we made it all about them. And we're glad we did because, at the end of the day, they are what drives the industry. So.
Yeah, and it creates like you said, a marketplace, but it creates a community that they don't want to leave, right? You're offering all of these reasons to continue using your platform, and if you can continue to deliver that caliber of professional to the small businesses, it just seems like a really great relationship that you've set up there.
Yeah, I mean, and thank you. We love it. I mean, and that again, it became less about acquiring customers and more about let's get the worker community together, because united we can enact some change. So if the industry is not going to pay these people what they're worth, at least those on our platform will get paid more than the industry on average. But it's also expanded, Chris. We started out with bars and restaurants early on back in January of 18. And we realized we're really good at catering and events. And then we got into the hotel space, motorsports, sports in general. So Colts training camp, Purdue football. And this is all just central Indiana focused. And then it expanded into USDA and FDA facilities. So again, you've got one, are you going to get a James Beard nominated chef to cut up chickens and apply for that job? No, and typically no. But once or twice a month or a week, like I said, they can hop in, make $150 and be on their merry way. And we're none the wiser. Even same deal with washing dishes. Like a lot of people don't realize some of the rock stars that have been washing dishes in this city. But anyway, what's been cool and what I wanted to get to was with a platform like this, they're able to travel. So we've got some pretty high quality people that have traveled to Philadelphia or Denver for music festivals. So these were like 3, 4, 5 day events where they'd go camp out and be treated like rock stars, while also making a sizable, pay rate, and have some fun. Like it's all about the adventure. We've got people from Chicago that come down to Indy. We've got from Indy down to Nashville. People travel on our platform, and that was the kind of one of the big visions was if we got this thing, scaled across the country. Now you can literally job hop or grab a gig wherever you are.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So.
Well, that's awesome. And the way I understand it, it's performance based too. So
Yep.
the workers get vetted and they get brought on, but they still have to do a good job, right, to continue to be selected.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so again, it's all about accountability, and it's quality control end to end. So we vet them in the beginning, which includes the most in-depth background check available to the industry. So we're doing it. They're not doing that in most places, especially not the temp agencies. It's an optional thing. So we wanted to make sure that we had people who are they? We check the sex offender registry, I-9 verification. We take industry references. We collect all certifications. So like in this space, you've got, serve safe food handling, you've got liquor licenses, a number of, and of course there's accessibility now to some COVID-19 related sanitation training. Like this industry is already hyper sanitized, right? But people want to, consumers want to have that assurance that it's hospital grade, that gloves and masks and services are clean, and so people on our platform are able to do that as well. And then everyone gets rated. So when you work a shift, the business will rate you, and you rate your time with that business. And so we hold both parties accountable, and we have zero tolerance for no call, no shows, zero tolerance for habitual tardiness. Like if you commit to grabbing a shift, you need to show up to that shift. Otherwise, this is not the platform for you. And so just we let that be known with our community guidelines. And at the end of the day, I think we're lucky because again, this industry is pretty awesome, and If you, if somebody commits to doing something, they tend to do it. At least they have been on our platform. So anyway, we just hold them accountable, and let the rest of it work itself out.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So we've talked some about COVID. Let's maybe just jump into that. How is that? Obviously, it's affected bars, restaurants, more so than the general, company down the street. So tell us tell us about what you're seeing on the front lines there.
So it's a tricky situation, and one from a local level, a state level, regional, federal. But I think the best way to look at it is, everyone's on these 8-9 million people are on unemployment right now. Plus, they're getting that $600 kicker for each week for a period of time. I believe it's through July. But anyway, so now you've got this situation where, yeah, bars and restaurants are opening up, but employees are making more right now with the benefits, and that's a good thing. So you've got the disparity in compensation, but then there is a fear or an uneasiness when it comes to being exposed. It's a interesting time. I think everyone's kind of taking it day by day, but depending on which side of the aisle you're on, there's a lot of people that are scared to be exposed in this industry, or to be exposed to other people if you're working in this industry, or even like you look at healthcare. I mean, we've been fielding calls left and right from healthcare facilities for their dietary needs and a number of other. But we did an impromptu poll, and workers are nervous about going into those facilities because then what do you bring home to your family or your friends? And so right now it is kind of a daily wait and see. COVID has decimated hospitality. I was just looking at some numbers. I think the number for April alone, the restaurant industry lost $80 billion in April, and that was nationwide. To put it into perspective, like when we were setting out to solve this problem of being understaffed, the problem costs hospitality, which includes restaurants, it costs the industry between 70 and 100 billion a year. But the industry just lost that all last month.
Wow.
So we're solving a big problem yearly, but it's pretty wild. And I think that what Holcomb's laid out, I think if we can all just kind of, one, be nice to each other, like the shirt says,
There you go.
human, but just have some thoughtfulness to it. And I think we can come out of this okay. And maybe we'll be at the track July 4th, watching the cars go fast and drinking beer and having a good old time. Like this never happened, but we've got to put in the patience and the fortitude now, I think, to earn that.
So that brings up a quote that I like. It goes, adaptation leads to innovation. So the industry itself has had to adapt to a lot of circumstances to stay open, to provide hospitality service as needed. So what types of adaptations do you see that are happening now that's going to lead to innovations that are going to be here to stay for the future?
Oh, that's a loaded question, Chris. So again, take this with a grain of salt. We're seeing, not just here in Indianapolis, but in Chicago and Denver and Nashville, which we operate in. We're seeing that you've got some intrepid entrepreneurs that maybe had the basis to build out their own delivery and not rely on the third-party apps. You've got those that evolved from being a restaurant to being more of an impromptu grocer or a supplier. So you can go get your week's worth of meals, low contact, low touch, type deal. I think that's great. But really, I think what's scary and sad is that, and this is what will drive innovation, is that they're pegging it right now that 40% of all restaurants are done, like dead.
Mm.
And it's just right now you're seeing a trickle of this one's closed permanently, this one's closed, but over the next 6 months you're going to see just a deluge. So back of the napkin math, there's about 1 million restaurants and bars in the U.S. And so 40% would be substantial, right? 400,000 businesses, but then more will pop up. So it's almost like when a forest burns, shortly thereafter you see sprouts, right? Like life is gonna the embers actually, seed the land in a healthy way, a helpful way. So I think maybe you see and no disparity to those that are closing, but maybe the weak or the sick die off and the strong survive kind of mentality. I just think I don't think we've never faced anything like this. There weren't a million restaurants that existed in 1930s during the Depression, right?
Yeah.
So like this is uncharted. No one can tell us how it's going to play out, but I do think that restaurants and just businesses in general, they're trying to shore up finances, man. So you've got a low margin business, 1% means something, and where are you going to find that? And so I think they're going to be looking at ways to optimize for labor, ways to optimize inventory. Optimizing, like getting away the third-party apps. They are just robbing the industry. Like, no, it's a lose situation. Consumers are paying more. The businesses aren't making any money when we make an order through a third-party app, and the third-party apps are not making money. So it's like, it's too many people trying to cut up a pie, or too many parties. And so I think you're going to see some self-sufficiency start to crop up, and maybe some platforms, like SnapShyft can begin to, extend beyond the labor side of things. But anyway, I just think it's the precursor to, like, it's going to look bad and seem really bad, but we're going to see some pretty cool, I think, innovations come out of this. Or I could be completely wrong, and we all stop going to, events, no sporting events, no festivals, no music, no concerts, no restaurants, which I doubt that. Like, I mean, I think that's built into our DNA. We need to get out.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think that as life becomes more, circumstances become more comfortable, I think we will see that, and I think your perspective on the industry is really insightful to get to see where things are moving. But then there's always just going to be that classic sandwich shop that you can't replace the experience of going there, and your neighbor is behind the counter, and he's the one that's preparing the meatball sub, and it's not a franchise. I mean, you just can't replace that. And I think that America is always going to embrace that, and there's going to be a need for it. I mean, so as much as we can support those types of businesses that are probably struggling right now, I think we should, and I think your platform definitely gives a lot of great options to those businesses and to the people that staff and work in those businesses. I think that's really good to see.
Yeah, I will throw out, I mean, for what it's worth, I'm not doing a plug or anything, but workers have this decision to make, because if their employer says we're starting on Monday, we need you back, and that worker turns it down, that gets reported to the government. So then now all of a sudden they run the risk of losing their benefits. So, but also if you return to work, you run the risk of losing your benefits. So it's like this catch-22. And so we're not advising anybody to do anything wrong or nefarious. What we are saying, though, is that, if you've got bartenders that, these are career guys and gals, maybe their employer isn't opening for the next month, but they have an opportunity to step in and maybe be a backstop for businesses that are opening right now. It's frictionless, it's compliant, and it helps both parties. So, and then at the end of the day, like you just said, I can't stress enough: support local, always. Whether it's a local tech company like us, or whether it's the sandwich shop, the brew house, we band together, and good things do happen. We take care of ourselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know you have a passion for Indianapolis. There's a reason for you to be here. Tell me about what that looks like. Just kind of shifting gears a little bit away from COVID, and that we've looked out to the future and where we've been, but from a tech startup standpoint, just a purely looking at it, that I think a lot of people's perception is, how does that exist in Indianapolis, right? And where do you see yourself going? And being a Hoosier-based company, what does that all look like?
Well, we're proud of that. We're proud to have the support of the city of Indianapolis, the mayor, but then of course the state, the IEDC, the governor, and various agencies, right, that operate to promote Indianapolis. Visit Indy being one of them. And so the decision to come here was easy. Like, we wanted to be back, and I've got 5 kids, so 3 under the age of 5, and so being close to family also kind of influenced the decision to be back here. But Indy, is a city on the rise. I mean, it from a tech startup standpoint, and there's some pretty incredible entrepreneurs, and not even just tech startup. From a business standpoint, some of these companies that are launching right now, consumer packaged goods, ed tech, education, marketing technology, HR tech, like us, like very compelling value propositions, strong founders and leadership. And I think that we're competing with the best of them, in that regard. And we've got, we spent a lot of time in San Francisco. We've got our backers are based in Boston and San Francisco and the Midwest. And we're very proud about that. And that was one of our goals. Like, when we set out, it was, we want to have a Midwest people backing us. And, it took some time, but that's, it was well worth it. And so now we've got, like I said, both the coast and the Midwest supporting what we're doing. And we fly our Indianapolis flag with pride wherever we go. So
That's awesome. That's good to hear. So, as we, kind of look at your story and where you've been, where you're going, a lot of exciting things there. Where can people find you? Like, what are some of your social websites and or your social media platforms and websites? Where can people find you at?
Yeah, so we're at snapshyft.com, and it's shift with a Y.
Okay.
I probably should have worn my SnapShyft shirt.
There you go.
But it's snapshyft.com. You can learn, that's chock full of information, but we're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and really, we're pretty accessible. We're a small team. We're based here in Indy. We've got, again, 36,000 workers, about 450 or so, businesses that are on the platform. And so Indy's kind of our hub. Like, everything that we want to do, we test here, but we're accessible. For better or worse, when I'm out and about, hopefully soon, we've been trapped for 66 days right now, man, which is crazy. But once we get out, if you see me, come talk.
You'll still have the beard though, right?
Yeah, I might trim it up a little bit.
Okay.
And I'll get a haircut hopefully between now and then.
Yeah. Well, good. I really appreciate it. I know, excited to get your story out and to help promote your business. I think to other small business owners that maybe don't know you exist, and to the workers that could benefit from your platform, and just the local community that they can continue to embrace and support what you're doing. We're excited to get the word out.
Yeah, man. And, for what it's worth, other business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs, I encourage you, find me on LinkedIn or Twitter, and reach out. I mean, that is one of my, uh, that's my way to decompress and give back. I feel really good trying to help others maybe avoid some of the pitfalls that I went through. Because it is, there's a lot of hazards to navigate, and so I extend that out, especially if you're Southside Indy. I'd love to see some of the Southside entrepreneurs, which they're popping up.
It's
You're
awesome.
one of them. I
Yeah.
know you live out on the West Side now a little bit, but you're very much a connected guy here in Indy and helping folks. So kudos to you for what you're doing, Chris.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Glad we got on today together, and those of you guys look Thor up at SnapShyft, and I appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yep. Thanks.